What up, guys? Happy Monday. We're here. Thanks you all for joining in. And today's episode, we're going to talk about Black History Month. And what's you guys' thoughts on Black History Month? So let's get started, man.
Yeah, really quick. Some shout out to some people. Shout out to Aubriana all the way from LA. I see her in here. Shout out to Jazz. Shout out to that boy Mickey Madness in the building. But yeah, let's kick things off. Black History Month. What are your thoughts on it? It's obviously the shortest month in the year, so that's it. We started off with that. Luckily, it's a little extended this year because we're on a leap year, right? So we got an extra day.
We got 29 days, bro. 29.
They gave us a little extra something to play with, huh?
They said y'all can have that. So what are y'all thoughts?
So what? You want to kick us off, Diamond? What's your thoughts of it, man? And I'm curious to really think of, like, really listening to your kind of perspective on it too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Coming from Africa, what is your thoughts on, like, Black History Month? Like, what?
It's something new for me, man. Like,
Yeah.
every day in Liberia was Black History Month, Black History Day. Every single day. So it was something, I feel like this is something like a new trend, right? I got to get on it, right? Because it's something I've never done before, right? I'm moving to the States, and then when you're in high school, right? And then especially, February, that's when it started to talk about Black history, right? All the great Black leaders, people who made like pivotal changes when it comes to civil rights, and like MLK and all those great Black leaders, man. So I think it's something very, very important, especially for kids growing up, to know that, hey, we have great people who set an example to lead the way for us to be here today. Because if it wasn't for some of those leaders, man, like how life it is right now, it wouldn't be the same. Like MLK going above and beyond, making a lot of changes when it comes to like racial inequality and all that stuff. So I think overall it's a good thing, man, just to like pinpoint a month to just reflect on our history, right? Talk about some of the struggles and all some of the things that we overcome, and just how far we have made so far. So I think overall it's good, so that we can be aware of it, and not just completely forget about it.
Yeah. I'd have to agree, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of times where I feel like there's like a disconnect between generations. You know what I'm saying? Especially just in all cultures, really. But like, there's a disconnect in generation. So I feel like something like that, it's always dope to just be able to like connect to those before you. You know what I'm saying? No matter how that is. You know what I'm saying? And people have different feels on like how far they go on, like either celebrating it or what they do to just recognize it. But in general, just it being a staple in the culture, just stamped as like, this is a month where we could, like, you know what I'm saying, just think about the past people before us that's done a lot. You know what I'm saying? That's, like you said, that's paved roads for us to do anything that we do now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think about like most of my problems that I go through today, they like very, 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 very small compared to anything that, the people before us had to go through just for us to have good problems. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think it's always dope to just celebrate our people, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Black is beautiful, man. You feel me?
I agree with everything you guys mentioned. Honestly, Black history, really just history in general, but specifically of our people, is important. And as we know, history is always told by the victors, right? And so that's the reason why we're even having to have conversations like this and stuff like that, because the Europeans, the white man, they've been in power for a long time, right? And history is always going to be told by the victors. They're always going to try and mark themselves as the heroes, like as these saviors. And clearly that's not the case. And kind of just like put everything else to the wayside and be very dismissive of everyone else's history and the richness and culture and whatnot. So I think it is important that we do celebrate stuff like this, because I know a lot of people talk about like, oh, Black History Month, and like now there's a month for everybody. But I honestly think like it's important for everybody to have their moment in time, right? I really do think as we continue to progress as people, as a culture, as a society, all the people who have been marginalized for so long, who have been forgotten or have been oppressed, I think it's important for those people to have a voice. And that's why I think you're seeing a lot of these things coming into place. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure Black History Month was like the first of like a specific month of like history to be celebrated. Like I said, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that is. Now you're seeing other things coming to light and stuff like that. But I do think it is really important because um, I think Black people are potentially like the most influential of all. Like, you know, like especially like when you think about from like a pop culture standpoint and stuff like that. Like in the last few centuries, like we've dominated, you know, like in multiple ways of just like being creative in all aspects and just what we bring to the table. So I think it is important, and I think having conversations like this is necessary, even though it may not feel like it. You know, I think we all kind of rolled our eyes at Black History Month, like in high school and stuff like that. Like, oh, like okay, like you know. But I think as I got older and whatnot, I'm like, okay, no, I think it is necessary to have these conversations.
What's your favorite thing about Black History Month, though, overall? If you can just pick one thing, overall, what do you?
My favorite thing about Black History Month, I think it, you know, I think Pete kind of touched on it earlier. It's just a moment to highlight a lot of people within our past who have given us the platform that we have to this day. You know, I think it's something that we do all the time. Like I think you think a lot about like the prominent figures in Black culture and what they've contributed to our society and to our culture specifically. But I think it's an extra emphasis during this month of just like celebrating all things Black, whether that be, you know, Black history, like Black figures, Black entertainment, you know, Black music, Black film. You even go on like Netflix and stuff, and you see like all this like celebrate Black voices and stuff like that, and like of course they want to do that, right, for like, you know, right, publicity and whatnot. But at the same time, it's just like, would we rather them not be doing it too? You know, like I think that's also the other caveat of the things, you know. And so I think just highlighting all things Black, I think that's the dopest piece about it. It's just like, yeah, like we gonna turn up this month.
No, I agree. I would say they treat me a little different at work, bro. In February, I noticed that.
That's stupid. You get a little extra love in February.
Oh, damn,
That's
you can go
crazy.
home a little early today. You've been working a little hard. You can go home a
That's
little early.
crazy.
Yeah, like that.
That's
what that boy,
funny.
he said. Oh, hey, Diamond.
Yeah.
Hey, Diamond, how are you?
That's funny, bro.
The dude treat me a little. I don't know. I've noticed that, bro. They're like acting like, you know, I work. I'm like, all right, I'm going home. I'm leaving a little early. They don't say anything. I'm like, Black History Month, motherfucker.
I dare you to say something. You know what I'm saying? Holla at me in March, man. Cause you want to play like that. You know what I mean? Nah, but kind of like, but back to what Z was saying a little bit. Like, I just wanted to add to the point of like, I think it's dope. Like during the month, like you end up just kind of seeing like random facts and just random like pieces of history on accident. Because a lot of times, you know, with Black history, you have to kind of do your research on purpose if you're gonna find anything, right? Because it's not just as laid out in the regular world as, so you know what I mean. So it's not like just talked about throughout people. So I think, you know, during it, you find yourself accidentally finding out facts about, you know, me and Black people. So I think that's dope. You know what I'm saying? Just where it's highlighted enough to, you know what I mean?
No,
To just, you know, kind of stumble into it on accident. So
no, I agree. I think it's important, right? I think sometimes we get so complacent, comfortable, and we forget some of the struggles and things that people before us had to endure, right? So I think it's just a good thing to like remind us, hey man, we came a long way. We are not quite as where we want to be yet, but we have made tremendous progress, right? Just as a group collectively coming together and just being able to like celebrate one another, man.
Yeah.
I think it's good. You need that reminder. And sometimes if you don't, I think just by having Black History Month overall, it gave us that reminder to reflect and look at some of the some of the pioneers, people who actually made a difference, man, to celebrate them. Right? Because it
and
was
I wanted to ask something just real quick because I seen him in here. He might not be in here still, but I just wanted to shout out to Black Sands Entertainment. I seen he popped in here for a second. My man, Manuel, man, he's doing Black history. He is Black history in real time. You know what I'm saying? Like he's doing things for Black people and Black culture in real time, man. The brand that he's built, and that he just put on his back is like, these are the stories that will be talked about like in the future for Black history. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, so just, you know, it's dope that I feel like people now are creating new Black history, you know what I'm saying? And just to know some of them, man. So shout out to Black Sands Entertainment, man. You know what I mean?
You know, and it takes people like that. It takes people with that mindset, with like, you know, we talk about pioneers and people to continue pushing the envelope and bringing about change. We need that because we're still so far from like where we could be, right? You know, I think people like, to your point, Diamond, I know you said like sometimes we get complacent like
Right.
that, like, oh, we've come so far. And I'm like, when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, we're only like 60 years removed from
Right.
like from the civil rights era. Like, you know, like
Right.
it's like that everybody tries to make it like dismiss it like it was just like so long ago. I'm like, bro, that was like well within our parents, you know, timeline, you know, kind of
Right.
thing. So it's not like we're that far removed, you know, from the oppression that we face now. Now, obviously, it wasn't to that same degree of like slavery and whatnot, you know, but like, you know, the civil rights era and all that stuff, that's still things that we aren't super that far removed from. We've been oppressed for so many years, for hundreds of years. I
Right.
think it's going to take just much time to rewrite the history books and reset what the narrative is, you know, for us. And but we got to continue to push the envelope and be pioneers in our own right and changing that, changing our narrative to reflect ourselves, you know, kind of thing. So I think it is important.
So shout out to the comment. And see, cats. Shout out to Mr. Maybane. I see you in the comment. Mickey said the only black leader Diamond knows is MLK.
I have a dream. It starts and end with it's starting to end with I had a dream.
I
You know,
had a dream that one day. No, but one thing I want to talk about though, right? Some of the time I noticed that we blame, slavery and things that happened in the past
Mm-hmm.
for us not actually doing the things that we want to do currently. What do you guys thoughts on that, right? It's just like, oh, I'm not where I want to be right now because of slavery or because of things that I know. Yes, there's some correlation with that, but what do you guys think about that when people say that? Oh, I'm not doing this in my life right now because of slavery and all that.
man, I think, man, to chime into this, bro, I think there's so much truth to that. Like,
Right,
you know what I mean? Even to the mindset of that, right? Like, sometimes it's hard to even just look past certain things because it's embedded into your system, like, you know what I mean. And
right,
I was, blessed to grow up, cool, like, you know what I'm saying. And like, so I see things in a little bit of different um and in a little bit of different angles. But some people just, like, it's hard to even see outside your neighborhood when that's all it is. And it was kind of like it bled down from generations before you, you know what I'm saying. So I don't really like to shame them for that, like, because I think that's like it's the mentality that's just is
right,
is is in them, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to add to the other side of it, I would definitely say like feeling like that, like it definitely takes power from you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because you focus if you focus too much on what was or what happened or like all the things, the barriers,
right,
it's
Yep.
hard to find the keys to open the doors to get out of it. You know what I'm
right,
saying? So I think it's good to start there, but that just can't be the end of the conversation.
right,
It's like this happened, this is all that, this is the fault of that, and this is, but then what? You know what I'm saying? I think that's where the conversation needs to move after that, is like, then what? All right, okay, cool. Then let's see if how are we setting up systems to change things.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that, that's kind of where what I feel on it, man. Is like it takes power if you in there,
right,
but if you start there, then you start your mind starts moving around on how can I help create new systems. And you know what I mean? Like if I know the problems, how can I start creating solutions? And I just think that's even beyond this in general, is we
Yeah.
need to start thinking of solutions instead of just yelling about the problem. Like, let's think about solutions. You know what I'm saying? So
right,
Agreed. I think you honestly hit that on the money, Pete, about it being a mindset. But also I wanted to tap in with Jazz's comment. She said it's important to acknowledge your obstacles while still figuring out how to get around them.
yeah,
And I think that's the perfect way to frame it. It's just like understanding that our people have been oppressed and put in certain circumstances because of where we sat on the social ladder, you know, like in regards to our history. But where we're currently at in 2024 right now, there's so many resources like that are around us. There's so many things that are at our fingertips, that are at our leisure, you know, that like you have the ability to change your circumstances if you truly want to.
right,
But depends on how bad you want it. If you want to continue to live in that mindset of, oh, we've been oppressed and we can't ever have it like they have it, and those types of things, that's a loser's
Right.
mentality. And I think to change that perspective and to think about things, to flip that narrative and be like, okay, like, yeah, I was I was only given this, but now I was able to obtain this regardless. Like, I'm not letting anything, like stop me from getting to where I'm going, kind of thing. And so I think it is 100% mindset,
Right.
so I absolutely agree with that.
All right. And then I just want to go in a comment before
Yeah, I think Mickey agreed with you. He's kind of said people make excuses to
Yep.
not to not to achieve what they want to achieve in
Great.
life. So I think that's kind of what you were saying. It's kind of like it's going into it like thinking I already lost. You know what I mean?
Same thing with Cass. He said, history does impact your present, but making excuses for not making progress instead of putting in the correct level is work. And honestly, to that point, Cass, you hit that on the money as well. When you talk about the work, right?
right.
We talk about that all the time. Just do the work, but oftentimes people don't want to do the work. They want to take the easy route. They want to take the road more traveled, the simple, the lazy route. And making progress and creating change. It takes work. It takes effort. And that's something that a lot of people don't want to do. A lot of people would just rather chill and just be, you know, complacent,
Right.
to the point that earlier. But like I said, we got to continue to push the envelope and create that winner's mentality if we truly want to change things in the grander scheme of things, especially moving forward.
I agree. No, you guys
Yeah.
both said everything right. So I'm not even going to bother to answer because I definitely agree. And going to the next question, do you guys think that we should get reparations?
That's
You want the honest? You take this one first. See, I already have my answer, but you take it first.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and tackle this one first. Short answer, yes.
And why?
Yes. I think it's just simply like, to me, I'm big on accountability, right? I think accountability is a pillar of my life specifically, and I think the government and just this society as a whole has just like had that lack of accountability on their end
Right.
for what they've done to our
Right.
people. And I'm not talking about just us. I'm talking. You can talk about like other things like Native
Right.
Americans, like that. But specifically, when we're talking about Black people right now, we all acknowledge like what came of slavery and all that stuff and whatnot for our people. But there was never anything that was done to like set the record straight.
Right.
And that level of accountability is just ownership of just saying like, hey, we were wrong. We capitalized on this, on
Right.
you, as people, on like literally on the backs of you, and just that acknowledgement and just being able to set the record straight, for the people who are descendant of all those people who they've done wrong,
Right.
I think would be a very giant leap into the right direction of where we need to go. And so it's not that I'm not sitting out here like begging, I'm not sitting outside the White House, outside the Capitol, like, hey, we got reparations, like I'm not gonna sit here and beg you my 40 acres and mule. I'm not gonna do that. Like at the end of the day, like I'm gonna figure it out on my own. However, I do think that acknowledgement and just that acceptance of, hey, we did something wrong. Let's make it right, or at least let's try to create that step in the right
Right.
direction and figuring it together. And that's why I think reparations are necessary.
Right.
Man, you hit it on the money, man. I got my short answer is the same. It's yes, bro. And it's because it's hard to even try to think about a number, right? That's what I started to think about solutions and stuff like that. It's hard to think about a number, but when you just really think about like the length of slavery and then the length of times that we were not able to build wealth, and then the times we started building wealth, like Black Wall Street and Tulsa and stuff
Right.
like that, they just literally just came and just took it and burned it down and shit like that.
Absolutely.
It's like reparations is like the least y'all could do.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like the least. You know what I mean? It's like the starting point still. I agree with what Cass said in the in his comments. He said the reparations should come by, should not come by. Well, I don't agree with just should come with money and I'm going with. I think it should come with money and, but he said not by money, but maybe free health insurance, free education for the length of time in slavery was present. Yeah, I think both. I think
Right,
both, man, because there's so much time that's unaccounted
right,
for on times we would have been able to build wealth, and just um and then there's still things even in our current system that just kind of there are still little blocks that are still there that we had to work twice as hard to get like the same level of opportunity sometimes, man. So I think just like you said, just trying to set the record straight. It's kind
right,
of like I don't know in golf or in anything that has a handicap,
Yeah.
right,
a disabled, right?
right,
Yeah.
Somebody shoots this many shots versus that because you know what I mean. They don't have the same level of opportunity, right? Like
right.
that, you know what I mean. So I think I'm looking at it in the same thing as that. It's like we didn't have the same level of opportunity for this amount of time. We'd have to get something to kind of even that playing
That's,
field. Now the harder question would be what that looks like. You
Yeah,
know what
we're
I'm
gonna come.
saying?
We're gonna
Like
come to that later. We're gonna come to that later.
that's the harder question. You know what I'm saying? Like, what would people be comfortable with? Because you
Right.
know what I mean. Like, if they just cut a little stimmy check for $1,200, we'd be like, bro, yeah,
yeah, right,
right.
Yeah.
You know what
right,
I'm saying? But then,
right.
where does the money come from? Where did
Right.
like? There's a lot of questions that comes to you know what I mean. That comes up when I think about that. But
Right.
what would we even be comfortable with taking?
Mm.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, if they gave me 1,200, I'd be like, bro, yeah, right. Bro, they might be making more than that for the. I heard that they in the NCAA new game they're giving all the players $600 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, they damn near making that on that. That's reparations at that point. Like, that's insane,
Yeah.
bro.
No,
So yeah,
I definitely agree. I think we should get reparation, right? Because, like you said, man, black people exploited, right?
Yep.
And the resource, the time, and they actually built the United States. So I think just getting something back in return, and just overall, like the income disparity between whites and black because of slavery too, is very, very prevalent, right? So I do believe that. And if I'm not mistaken, I heard Germany paid the Jews or Israel, right, some reparation from what they did to them before. So why can't we get the same something
Mhm.
similar, right? But what's the good amount though for you guys, right? Let's say if a law pots right now, what would be a good amount for you guys? Now you'll be like, you know what? I'm okay. I'm comfortable with this amount right now. What's your number?
That's man. So
it's hard.
that's tough to say because to the points that we've been making and to
40 trillion. Right? 40 trillion.
I need
Ray said 40 trillion.
I need 40
Hey,
trillion of that.
it, and as funny as that is, if that might be what it costs to get everybody straight,
Yeah.
to get all the black people straight, that might be the number, like to get everybody right.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, for some reason, the first number that came to my mind was 1.2. You know what I'm saying? Just to like start having the conversation, like 1.2 M's. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying? And then we
it's
can
doable,
figure it
right?
out.
Because if you do the amount of black population in the United States, right? What's the percentage? We're like 13%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yep.
that's so 1.2.
1.2 million times. It might be 40 trillion. You
Yeah,
know
I'm
what I'm
pretty
saying?
sure. I mean,
You know
per
what I'm saying?
person. I'm just saying for you though, as an individual, right? Let's say for you, what would you be comfortable with? Like, not collective, just an individual, like a person, like 1.2. Remind you said 1.2.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I have an exact number, man. I would say that's tough, man.
Tough. It's
I
tough.
Hey, you're on
I
the phone
honestly
with Biden right now, Z. You're on the phone with Biden right now. He's calling you, Z.
it, I I think the number that I would be at least okay with like would probably be like half a milli.
I'm
You
a
know,
man.
half a mil I think would be enough to like be like, okay, like this is a step in the right direction, right? You know, that is life changing money. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh
five
yeah,
hundred thousand money. I
yeah,
don't care what it says. But I think that but I don't think money should just be the case to
right,
cast. I think there needs to be other things because that we recognize as black people we've been exploited and dealt a lesser hand than our other counterparts for so long that just giving people money is not going to be the solution alone because
right,
like I think there needs to be education and stuff that like that comes along with that. I think education with like financial literacy with things like healthcare and stuff like that. I don't think the answer is just money. Like
right.
it's not. I do think that money needs to be a piece of that solution. but that's not it alone, because we know how much that's played a role in things, like, you know, like in the exploitation of us, and the first, you know, what did Mickey say? Y'all greedy. we
Yeah,
got the
he ain't like my 1.2. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
But I'm thinking about like just naturally,
right,
if my ancestors had the opportunity to buy land at a certain point
right,
and had the opportunity to hold it for that long,
right,
it would be worth more than 1.2.
right,
greed.
I'm just thinking like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just thinking like basic things. I'm
right.
not like, you know, saying that just, you know, and it's kind of funny because we're just throwing around numbers, but I'm just thinking about naturally what could have been passed down over that time would be probably worth that or worth more.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Like, you know, they what we always talk about, right? 40 acres and a mule. What would 40 acres be worth right now? Like, think about that. Like, depending on, like, obviously it's going to depend on where you're at, but 40
Right.
acres, that's a lot of land. And in today's age, you know, I heard somebody mentioned inflation
Right.
earlier. That
Right.
inflation at 40 acres from then to now would be crazy, you know.
Right.
So but also, to Henry's point, he said how much of the reparations would be tricked off. And
a
that's
lot,
why I said, like,
a lot.
a lot of it, like, for a lot of people. And that's why I think just giving money alone isn't the solution. I A piece of me almost wants to say that, like, when we receive that money, like, you shouldn't just receive it all up front. Like, it might have to go into a trust or something.
I need my money.
But at the
Shoot.
same time, it's just like, I don't think that should be on their
Right.
to determine. I think that should be on ours, but also it's just like, I just know what a lot of people would do with that, and it's not going to be good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if, I mean, because if we start thinking about solutions, the thing that I thought of, they said like housing and stuff. Like, what if like all new, like new building area, you know how like new builds in different areas, right? New houses build in different areas that they're building up. What if they were all just allocated to black people? That's where you start, right? Like, if you could just, even if you could just take away the cost of a mortgage or rent for people,
Mm-hmm.
it would be a
Yeah.
start, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? You just own your crib outright. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's enough new builds being built that we created a fund for all new builds to be allocated for these people. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. It has to be it's a tough question,
Yeah.
bro. It's like what is
Yeah.
Yeah.
comfortable. You know.
I was still 1.2, bro. I'm at the same ballpark. Like, Mickey, you can go ahead and say whatever you want. Wait,
Yeah, I
1.2
don't know what Mickey
sounds
talking about,
good.
man. I
Yeah.
don't know what Mickey talking about, but I
Tell,
mean,
tell Mickey to give you his 1.2 if he
yeah,
don't
give me my
pay.
yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'll donate something back to the family. You know what I'm saying?
Let us hold that. Let us go. Let
let
us hold.
me let me get that.
No, 1.2 sounds good. Because I didn't yeah, man. Because I didn't I think that would help a lot, especially the black
Yeah.
community. That would help a
Yeah.
lot. But
Absolutely.
most of us are struggling, right? People, like, you know, Henry said, they're going to get it back
Yeah.
anyway, right? Because most people are
Yeah.
like consumers. They're just going to buy
Yeah.
things, like, you know, and give it
Well,
right back to
because
them.
that's and that's the only thing we know so many times is like how we spend money is like taught too. Like we weren't taught to like over these years that we weren't building wealth, we weren't taught to build wealth.
Yeah.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So then it's like I heard this thing called like being vanity slaves. We're slaves now to like brands and stuff like that because that gives us a little glimpse of feeling good about the small things that we have.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So yeah, I definitely think there would have to be education there, but there's, not all of us would be giving it back too, right? Like I think we got them. We're more educated than any other time in history.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that would be being built, right? I could see if if we all three got our 1.2, right? We probably create some dope shit for
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we probably do some dope shit with it,
We
right?
would
You know what I mean? So
go crazy.
you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know, man.
Listen,
I do like what Cass was saying earlier about like things like free education and things like that, though. Like just being like, you know what I mean, having certain things that we just wouldn't have to worry about. You know what I mean? Like if
Right.
a crib was set up for us, or you know what I'm saying, education was free, and there's just certain things that like all debt cleared. You know
Right.
what I mean? There's certain
yeah,
things like you know what I mean.
yeah.
That's like you know,
Right.
I think all debt clear would be a huge leap in the right direction. That would be
yeah,
crazy.
Absolutely. So,
Um,
so So what do you guys think about just overall being black then, right? Do you guys notice like experience more racial profiling, especially by like cops and stuff? Just
Oh, of
Hell,
course.
hell yeah, bro.
Hell yeah, like not even
uh,
a question, bro.
It's so much it's so much to the point where I think we probably expect it.
Hmm.
Like, you
right,
know what I'm saying? Like, why, I don't know. Why would you really be like, I know some white people that's not nervous when they get pulled over
right,
because they wasn't really doing anything, but we know we don't have to be doing
right,
anything. You know what I'm saying? And from experience, and then you see these cases happen so many times, bro, it's built into the system.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you just like
It's like designed that
right?
way. You know what I mean?
Systemic race.
Because I feel like I'm like naturally for some reason I'm just afraid of cops, right? I don't feel comfortable. It's never a moment when I'm around cops that I feel really comfortable, especially if they're white, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not saying
yeah.
all cops are racist, but just for some reason I'm just even when I'm driving, bro, like I know my record is clean as hell. I haven't got a
Yeah,
DUI, I don't even drink, I don't even smoke, but whenever there's a cop car behind me, I feel like a drug dealer for some reason. I'm
yeah.
like, do I have
Facts.
weed in my pocket?
Come on,
Like
It's
man.
like you just
Tucking your chain and
feel
shit,
like
like,
some
you know
type
what
of
I'm
way,
saying?
you
Like, you
know?
know what I mean?
I'm like,
like
did I do anything illegal today?
it's like remember when we were in London and what that looked like. Remember when I forgot when the instance happened, but we were in London and we saw some cops and stuff like that. And we were like, oh, like we said something along the lines of like, don't shoot. And they're like, this isn't America. Like you're like, but to that point, like that's the reality of the situation. Is just like understanding how systemic racism has just been so built into as a whole, and how it's impacted all of us. From people like the law, like from things like opportunity, like in things like credit and just access to certain resources. I think these are all things that race plays into a factor, right? And so it's honestly just trash, at the end of the
Right,
day. I think we've got a long way. We've come a long way, but we still got a long way to go. And I've never felt safe around cops. And I've been arrested multiple times. I've been arrested multiple times, and honestly, like neither one of those times was my
right,
fault. Like like I'm not just saying that because I'm just like just to say it. Like I've been wrongly jailed for no reason.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just a part of life. Like you just understand it. Like just as somebody with my skin tone, with our skin color, like our pigmentation, it's just like well, it could have been worse, right? Like
Mhm.
I think people like what's his name, Khalif Broder, get how you pronounce his name. I don't know if you're familiar with his case, but this man was like wrongly like accused of a crime he didn't commit, and never read like his Miranda rights. He was never given the opportunity to have a phone call or anything like that. He was wrongly imprisoned like for years for no reason. Like with no reason whatsoever. Like it's crazy to think that things like that happen in real life, but that's the reality of the situation. And like it's things like that that remind me like, oh, this is
right,
America, right? So even though we've come a long way, like I said, I think we still got so far to go.
right.
Yeah, yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. I heard this thing. I was listening to a podcast. I honestly think it was on my guy Graffiti's podcast, but it was somebody saying like a lot of white people, the only the only interactions they have with cops are usually good. Like it's
Right,
usually they call them. You know what I mean? They call and they come, and when they come, it's like, thank God they got here. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? They're here to help.
yeah.
I've never seen a cop and was like, thank God they're here. Like, that's never been a thought, like ever. You know what
Nah,
I'm saying? And it's like, and that's, I'm not alone. It's like, for most black people, it's like, we've not had,
we're not gonna.
right,
I've had interactions where they're not bad,
right,
but I've never been like, thank God. You know what I mean? They're here. You know what I'm saying? It's, yeah. So I don't know. It's like we kind of like we live in a government inside of our own community.
right,
You know what I mean? That's
right.
It's crazy.
So
Like,
do
did you
you
really quick? Did y'all see the clip recently of the cops who just unloaded like multiple clips into the? They thought she like so pretty much she I think she had to break her window or something like that because like obviously the situation didn't look good, but she had locked her keys. She was locked out of her apartment, so like she had to like I don't know, break her window or something like that to get in to access her apartment, and the neighbor called the cops. And so they approached her apartment, and before they even gave her like the opportunity like to like, you know, acknowledge her and they acknowledge their presence, they started unloading. Like they shot like, I can't even remember how many rounds like they shot into, like it was crazy. But she ended up getting shot, I think like 5 times. She survived, thankfully,
Wow.
you know. But it's just
That's
crazy.
insane.
That's wild. Like, right? Like it's and it's only, you know, it's because of the color of her skin. If she was white, that would never happen.
Right.
Like we know that would never happen. So that's crazy.
Right. So do you think cops should be trained differently how to like handle and deal with black people then? Because at the end of the day, because there's a lot of bias when it comes to just overall that negative stereotype. So
Yeah.
do you think that they require like specific training when it comes to just dealing with black people on a day-to-day basis?
I think there should be specialized training, but I also think they should be held accountable for their actions. That's really the biggest. Like if
Yeah.
they're going to carry out lethal, like literally lethal action against us, like, you know, like against civilians, they should absolutely be held accountable for their actions. And that's like I said, like we talked about it earlier. That's the biggest piece of what the system is what's wrong with the system is the lack
Right.
of accountability at the
Right.
end of the
Yeah.
Shout
Cass.
out to Cash, man.
Yeah,
it's
it's true.
It's
and
not the cops, it's the system. You know what I'm saying? Like if you know,
it's
yeah.
both. It's
But
both. It's the cops.
the system's built for all new cops to kind of, you see what I'm saying? Like, and that's what I think he's saying is like the system's built for, it is both, but the system's
Yeah.
built for like new cops to like, you could kind of maybe come into it with like intentions of doing
Right.
good. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But the system was kind of just built on, you know what I mean? This is how it works. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Like the system is just so corrupt that like anyone who's upholding the law, like there's going to be some kind of corruption to a degree, you know. So like there's just no workaround, right?
Yeah.
Right. Right. It's true.
Unfortunately, what did Cass say there? There are cops who join. Oh yeah. Agreed. Like I don't think all cops have bad intentions,
Right.
but like I said, when you're upholding a corrupt system, you're going to be corrupted at some point,
Yeah.
Right.
and no working around that.
Right. I mean, it's true though, because I think sometimes just having those stereotypes of biases, right, makes it a lot easier. Because whenever you see a black person, you just assume that he's up to no good, right?
Yeah.
And now you fear your life. So the first thing that's gonna comes to mind, that survivor instinct. All right,
Yeah.
Diamond's about to do something crazy. Let me
Yeah. I got
grab
to
my gun because he's
protect
gonna have
myself. I got to protect myself.
that.
Yeah.
With a white person, like, oh, he's white, so you just perceive him to be less of a threat than seeing like a black skin, especially like a dark, person. You're like, damn, I wonder what
Yeah.
he's doing. Was he? Oh, yeah.
I got a question for y'all, because somebody actually presented me with this question the other day. They said if you could change any like historic, like made like any historic moment, like whether it be Hiroshima, whether just any significant event in history, what would it be? And obviously, as a black person, the first thing that came to mind is slavery, but like the transatlantic slave trade, right?
Right.
So, but my question is, so if the transatlantic slave trade never happened, right? Would the influence of black culture still be as widespread as it is today?
Hmm. Damn. Maybe, maybe not. One of those things that's kind of like hard to like really figure out what's gonna happen. But I just believe in the sense that that's one thing I personally would get rid of, right? Because I never experienced it because I can just imagine the
Hmm.
people whose family were like stripped away from them from Africa, like the trauma they had to deal with, like the people who was on the boats and shaped, in like chains and stuff,
Hmm.
just going through that. I can like fathom those things. So for sure, little bias here too. But that's something I'll say I'll get rid of. Yeah, for sure.
What
Yeah,
about
that's well, of course. I fully agree, and I think it's because we have like roots directly connected to it. But
you?
then
Yeah.
that other question, that really was kind of making me think. I was sitting there thinking, and we've created so much. I think it still would, but I don't. Maybe just on the level of
Right.
who knows, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but maybe Africa would just be Wakanda at that point.
Yeah,
Like maybe we just have all the dope shit over there. Like, you know what I'm
right,
saying? Like, I
Funny.
don't know. Like, you know what I mean? So
It's funny because that was actually what came up in that conversation. Is just like maybe Wakanda really would be real or something
yeah,
like that in that aspect, right? Of what that would look like if we actually had the ability to build up our people
right,
to that degree. And slavery never. So here's my thoughts on that, because I'm like, slavery is going to exist
right,
regardless. Like, at some, I don't think it would have existed to that extent.
right,
The transatlantic slave trade was obviously like, you know, and I think there was a lot of influence that was dispersed all over the world. I mean, you think about it, like how far um, Black culture has impacted other cultures and stuff like that. Like, I mean, Black people created reggaeton and all these you think about all this stuff and it's just like that wouldn't be possible without Black people, like kind of thing.
right,
So there's a lot of things that I think would be different, but who's to say? Like I
right,
really don't know, and we'll never know, of course.
right.
But that's that bias that like naturally came to my mind is like obviously the transatlantic slave trade, but also that came up in the conversation of like maybe Wakanda would have really been a real thing.
Facts. Because think about it, bro. During the slavery, man, they exported a lot from Africa, like
Yep.
natural resource, gold and diamond, all those great things, and went to Europe and used all those resources and built their economy.
Yep.
So I
right.
believe that if that never happened, we will still have all the resources and we will be able to like do more for our people. Like look at Afrobeats, right? Like becoming
Yep.
mainstream, just
Mhm.
with that, just from just solely Africa. So I do believe that we are definitely gonna figure it out, man. Because we are some creative people, man. We
Absolutely.
don't have a lot of resources, but we always maneuver and figure out to utilize the little resource we have to turn out to be something dope. So I think we would have figured it out.
Yeah,
Because
we're
if you
very.
go back home in Africa right now in Liberia, bro, they don't have all the tools and amenities that we have currently, but they are able to use whatever little resource they got to like build whatever they got going on over there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I do believe that we would have turned out to be dope still.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like hard, like you said, you never know, right? But
Yeah.
I just believe that it was gonna happen.
But we're very creative and inventive people, So who knows what that extent could have been? I mean, like I said, that's something to really think about and ponder. But I just thought that was an interesting question.
Yeah. Now going to my little next controversy question.
I hope I hope Mickey's still in here for this one. Is Mickey still
Yeah,
around?
as Mick is in here, let's have fun.
Mickey, are you still in here, bro?
Have to comment. All right, this is the question we had. We were chatting about the other day. Can you be pro-black and your spouse is another race, specifically white? Can you be pro-black and they're a white woman? Or yeah, what do you guys think about
Oh,
this one?
we.
I kind of want to. If anybody's on the chat in the comments, let's start with y'all, man.
Yeah, can you be
Before we just
pro-black
talk about it,
and they are outside
can
of your race?
you pin that question real quick, Z?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm.
let's
I'm.
see what do you guys think of that one? Let me get
If
water.
anybody's in here that want to answer that question before we get
Yeah,
into it, man.
let me go grab a bottle of water real quick.
What's good, PK? What's good, baby? I need you to tap in on this question, man. This is we just kicked off this probably the last question of the night, man. But we figure it's gonna be a little baby controversial. But the question is, can you be pro-black and date other races, specifically white?
Hey, Caston, come on. I want to hear your answer, Caston. Come on, join the live. I want to know why.
Cass,
Nah, he said no.
he said no, but now I need Cass to hop on the
Yeah, I
live
need
though.
why, right? No, why? Some
Go ahead,
reason.
Cass. Join the live. I think
Pro-black.
juicy question, so I'm interested to hear people's perspective on it.
Can you be pro-black and date other races?
That's
Specifically
Marco.
white.
I see Marco.
What up, Marco?
Marco, you can answer the question too.
Marcus scared to come on. Did Caston send you an invite?
No,
No?
Even if he doesn't, man, I want him to write an explanation on that. But his short answer is no. Yeah, let's see
Right.
what he said. He
Right.
says you can be in a position to want to support black people first, But if you ain't making black babies, that ain't your only focus.
Mm, mm. All
I
right.
feel it.
Marco said, "I'm not black, bro."
That-
You can still have an opinion, Marco.
that's the most uncontroversial response ever.
I mean,
He said,
this question is more of like, I don't think it's more of like, if you're a black person, right? I feel like if you're other race, that's different. If you're a black person,
Yeah,
you can be
yeah,
pro
yeah,
black,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
The other
yeah,
race.
yeah,
I just
yeah,
want to make that clear, right?
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, yeah,
for
if you're
sure.
so, yeah, if you're other race, I don't have a problem with you. But
Yeah.
what do you guys think though? Like us in here, like, what do you guys think? Can
Who,
you be
wa-
pro black and other?
who wants to take it first, man?
"Go ahead, Pete."
I'll go first, man.
Okay.
Go
Like
ahead.
me, I did other races before, right? But I wasn't in my pro black era. That's my excuse.
What
What
era were
what
you
what
in?
what?
I was just exploring the continent, bro. I was exploring.
Oh
but,
man.
but but in the day, just my personal experience, right? I noticed there was a lot of disconnect, right? Things that we couldn't really, just like connect with, understand each other. So for me, it was a little harder. Even though I tried to make it work, I feel like I could have made it work, right? But it was just a little harder. So overall, man, I personally think it's hard, especially as a black person, to be pro-black. You want black family, you want black culture, and then your significant other, is like specifically white, and especially if you're a full black person too. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like if you like mix, I can like understand why. Cause like say if you grew up, your mom is white, so I can
Hmm.
understand why you might have that bias toward white women.
Right.
But I'm saying about like a
Right.
full black person like myself, dark skin. At the end of the day, nah, you can't be a full black person the way you marry outside of your race. I don't think so.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's my take on that one.
So I got a little different perspective, and the reason is because I'm probably a little bit biased in the sense of this, right? But my mom's mixed. My
Right,
mom's half and half. She's half white, half black. My grandma was white. You know what I mean? And so I know I wouldn't be born if there was no mixed relationships. But to dive into this a little more specifically, being pro-black, right, and dating other
right,
races. I honestly think you can be pro-black and date other races, right? But you can't be pro-black and say like I only date white women,
right,
but I'm pro-black.
Mhm.
right,
You can't like I honestly think there's certain people that would like just naturally the type of person they are, you know what I mean, like with the things they're into, they might just find someone, you know what I mean, and fall in love with that specific
right,
person that is another race, and even they even might be white, right? But if you say I only do this,
Mhm.
like I don't date black women, but I'm bro black. I don't. Yeah, right, bro. Yeah, right, bro. Like for me, I knew a while ago. Like I pretty much only date. Not pretty much. I only date black women. That's my preference.
right,
I love black
right.
women. You know what I'm saying? I love black women, and I consider myself pro black. I know there's
Just let
levels of it, right?
level,
Like
right,
I don't know if I'm like a full on activist, but I love doing things and creating things for my people, and you know what I mean, being able to help put people into position and creating things like the Black Gap, and like even the scholarship in my sister's name is really creating things for black people, like they are for black people.
Yeah.
right,
You know what I'm saying? So I definitely consider myself pro black. Um, but that's kind of that's my short long
right,
answer
right,
is like I think you can,
right,
but you can't say like I only date
Yeah.
right,
something else, but I'm
right,
still pro black. You know
right.
what I
Agree.
mean?
I
Agree.
agree.
Uh,
No facts.
I think tapping in, piggybacking off of that, I definitely agree. Uh, there's extremes,
Right,
right? You, you can be extremely pro-black,
right,
like a Dr. If Dr. Umar was like pulled up to a club with a white woman, I'd be like, bruh, I'm gonna slap the hell out of you, bro. Like, what?
He probably slapped
Because
the shit out of himself. You know what I'm saying? You know
you,
what I'm saying?
you mean you got
What are you saying? 1,000 lashes? You know what I'm
right,
saying?
like
right,
I think there's extremes, right? And um, I like this conversation is it's interesting too because I think like there would be a problem, right? If like you only dated like white women, for instance, like like kind of thing. But like if you only chose to date within your race, like if you only dated black women, you're like, I don't date anything else. that's also an extreme. Like, is that viewed as being wrong? But I think to that point, we discussed this in our conversation previously. Is like a lot of cultures are very
Right.
traditional in the sense
Right.
they want you to date your own people, you know, kind of thing. Like,
Right.
and that's influence that comes from previous generations, our parents, and even before then, and just wanting to keep the bloodline going, right? You know, like you like Casson said, you want to have black babies, you know, kind of thing. But I know Diamond, you mentioned earlier, you know, dark skin. Shout out to all my team middle skin people out there, you know, team middle skin baby. I'm a little in between. I'm a little in between. So shout out to team middle skin.
You light skin Z.
So shout out to all my middle skinners out there, baby. But this might be controversial, but I think all women matter. No, I'm joking.
Come on, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't
I'm
do that.
joking. Nah, but
Yeah. I mean, fact though. Technically, I mean, yeah. Certain level, they all matter.
David said he was all over the world, and then he just recently got back to being, you know, pro-black. So, you know, like, but anyways, nah, I'm just joking. But I think it's interesting too, because you brought up a good point as well, DG. You know, being biracial. You know, I grew up like my mom's not black. You know,
Right.
so like I think that's very interesting too, is
Right.
how that dynamic played into my life as well, and
Right.
and I think I've been very much open to like exploring romance with like just really just like anyone. Like I don't necessarily discriminate. Like I do genuinely, like when I say like I love all women, I do love all women. Like I don't know if I necessarily have an affinity to any one or the other. Maybe
Baddies.
bad. You know what I'm saying? I don't got no type.
That's good. That's great.
So, but it's a very interesting concept, right? Because you think about people. I am pro-black, and I'm
Right.
always gonna people always have been, always will be, and that's never gonna change. But who knows, like who my partner is going to end up being? Like I truly don't know, like kind of thing.
Right.
And I think about people like we talked about it, like the Childish Gambinos, you know, the Jordan Peels and stuff like that. I think it's really interesting to think about it because these are people like we would view as very pro-black, you know, right? Like I think you when you think of Childish Gambino and you think of things like Atlanta, you know, like and you think of Jordan Peele and you think about Get Out and all this stuff and whatnot, and the fact that they're both married to white women, I think is very interesting, you know, like and I come from the perspective of like I'm not gonna hate on anybody for like who they love, like
Right.
at the end of the day, you have the right to like love who you love, and regardless of what that person looks like, shape, size, color, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, but I do think to your point, Pete, when you mentioned earlier, like to be pro-black and say, "Oh, I only date white women," though, you know, I think is an extreme that like that just doesn't work.
Right.
Like I that closed-mindedness in that regard, I think like it doesn't allow for that's not the space, right? You know, so I do think there are extremes, but I think to that point, like that's just not gonna fly.
Right.
It's not.
Right. No,
You see
that's
what
true.
you see what Cass said? My bad, I didn't mean
Go
to cut you off, but
ahead.
um, Cass just said what he said, my mama black as hell, man. But he said you can love who you want for sure. You can support all people, but if you're not having black babies, that's not really your mission.
Right.
And I see what he's saying. Like that's not your sole focus. If
Right.
right,
Mhm.
like if your sole focus is only for the progression of black people, man, and that's maybe what pro-black means to him.
Right.
If your sole focus is that, then how could you still be in day? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I see what he's saying with that.
It's true though. I mean, can it be like, let's say, can a person just be pro-black, right? They like care about overall black empowerment. They want to see black businesses thrive and all that. However, their relationship, they really don't care, and date someone outside of their race. So can that person still be considered pro-black then? Because I know that, yeah, they care about other things though, right? But when it just comes to romance, they really don't care. Will you still consider that person pro-black? They're out there doing the walks, they're marching, they are supporting everything, they're buying black from black businesses. But you know, they just like to date white girls because they're into yoga and white
Only are you saying only or just
I,
they like
I,
only.
who they
All right,
like?
let's say only.
Totally.
only
Oh,
that.
bro, no, because there's some deep rooted hate if you just say I don't like I'm not dating black.
Right.
I'm
You think
if you say that out your mouth, I'm not dating black women, then there is some underlying hate. That I don't care how many protests you go to. If you say I don't date black women, you can't be pro black to me.
they dated Keisha at one point. Keisha, like, you know,
It don't matter, man. It don't matter, man. I don't care if Keisha whooped his motherfucking ass and whooped his sister's ass and cussed his mama out. You know what I'm saying? If you don't date black women at all, or you just not even open to it, and you say I just don't,
but after
then you
three,
can't be pro black.
Keisha, LaQuisha, and
He need to stop messing with the Ishas then. Apparently,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
no, I
Nah,
agree though. I
but that's
agree
how
with
I
that.
feel. And I'm passionate about that part. Like
Yeah.
I just if you because you know like as hard as black men have it, and we talk about that a lot, man. Black women and they say are the most unprotected,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, person
Right.
probably in the world,
Right.
right? You know what I mean? Because
Right.
a lot of black women would never really date outside their
Right.
race, but a lot of black men would.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So for someone to say and there's more women than men, right?
Right.
So then you got to say as many types of men that there are, there's the same types of women that there are. So when you say like there's no black women that I would like, that's crazy.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
wild. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
to say I just I don't date black women at all is nuts to
No,
me.
I agree.
That's my
There has
opinion,
to be
but
some,
I feel passionate
yeah.
about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. There has to be some underlying issue, right? To say I don't, not even try like
Yeah.
no, like there has to be some issue going on.
Mhm.
Like why? Why do you hate him so bad? I understand, like we all been through trauma, right? You might date a woman, she happened to be black, and then she hurt you, she cheated on you, whatever. But just to have that trauma forever, like can never give
Yeah.
another black woman a chance again, there has to be some underlying issue with that, man. But yeah.
It's self hate. It's like it's self hate, and then it was like confirmed by an experience, right? I remember talking to it was a white guy before, right? He was a chef at where I was working, and he was talking, and he was just like, he was like, I'm not racist, honestly, but I got people in my family that are, and he was saying that like his uncle or something, I mean, he felt the way always about black people, but then it was confirmed one time because I guess he got jumped by some black dudes, right? But he already felt like that, and that's what I was telling him. Like he was waiting until that confirmed. He wasn't looking for all the times that a black person let him go walk in front of him while he was driving, or you know what I mean, like maybe what I mean. All the little good stuff, he was waiting for that bad moment to confirm it. So I think that's the same with like maybe dating black women. It's like if you already hate it, but then you're waiting for that one moment to
Right,
confirm it, like, you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing to me.
right,
So
right.
Yeah.
I agree. So, all right,
yeah,
cool.
man.
Yeah.
This might be a little, I got them controversial questions today. So another one: can black people be racist? Because I heard this so many times. I want to know from you guys. Like, can black people be racist?
Hold on.
I want
Let me pin this one too.
to know.
Um.
You want to kick that one off, Z?
Yeah.
What do you guys thoughts on that one?
All right. Pin this question.
Cass, I love Cass. He said absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
To Cass's point, like if you're breaking down the technicality of what racism is, black people cannot be racist. Like no, if you break it down to like the technicality, like when you break down what racism is, no, black people can't be racist, because white people are the majority, so like they could never be oppressed in that regard, kind of thing. So like I don't think reverse racism is a thing. I think you can be prejudiced for sure.
Right.
Yeah, Ashley Cass just said that. Yeah, like I think you can be
Yeah.
prejudiced, have certain biases and
Right.
whatnot, but I don't think you can be racist. Like I think it's definitely just like a level of prejudice. But no, I don't think black people can be racist. Long
So,
To
story
break
short.
it down, is there anybody? I'm not close to my computer, but can anybody pull up what the definition of racist actually is? You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
Gotcha.
I heard this so many times. I'm a
yeah,
little conflicted on one.
I want
That's why I just
to hear the specific definition of it to be
right,
sure. You
All
know what I
right.
mean?
So
right,
uh, racism is prejudice, discrimination or antagonism by an individual, community, or institution against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group,
Right.
typically one that is a minority or marginalized.
Right.
Then we, period. He like Caston said it the best, man. Being racist is institutional,
Right.
and we don't hold the institution.
Mhm.
At least in can black people be racist in Africa?
Right. That's what I want to or
Like let's break this thing down then. You know what I'm saying?
right. Can black people be racist towards other groups? I mean, like, or just only white, right? Because I think
Yeah.
KP asks that. Can black people be racist towards other
Yeah. So
groups,
that's
other ethnicity than just white?
yeah. Paul asked that question, like, yeah, can you be racist towards other marginalized
Right.
groups? Yes, I do that. Yes, in that regard, yes, I think you can.
Right.
Absolutely.
So you think black people can be racist toward like other marginalized groups, but when it comes to like the majority group, you can't be racist because it's more like right. So you're looking at it more from like a systematic approach, right, than individual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, like if like when you're breaking it down to the technicality of what racism is, no, black people can't be racist. At least towards the majority, right?
Right.
But I think if, for instance, like you were like, Mexicans specifically, kind of, I do think it can be racist in that regard. Like,
So
I've experienced it before, like kind of thing, so, like where like, oh, like, I don't fuck with Mexicans, like
right.
none of them. I ain't never met a good one. Like, like I do think that exists. Right. Absolutely.
Right. So let's say if I had a business, right, and then a white person apply, and he's qualified, he's got all the attributes and skill set that I'm looking for. But the only reason why I'm not hiring Brad is because he's white. So will you consider me, oh, I'm racist, or I don't hire any white person? Will you consider me being racist, or just like he's just doing his thing? Like, how will you consider me if I'm? That's my only approach of like not hiring that person. Like, I know he's dope. Looking at his prior performance, his resume, he has all the attributes what I'm looking for. But the only reason why I'm not hiring him because he's white. So am I still racist or not? Like, what do you guys think?
Caston said that's racist. He said yes, that's racist. but what he said is racism comes from a power imbalance.
Right.
If at any point we control opportunities for others, then we can be. So I think when we're talking about maybe that we can't be racist, it's on the bigger picture and scheme of things.
Okay.
Maybe there are small instances of it.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah,
there is.
right.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And that maybe that I could agree with.
Right.
But even then, it's like, what if your reasoning is like, I'm just trying to restore the power balance,
Right.
like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, so it's a tough question,
Right.
but I think when we think about it as an overall picture, we're thinking about like the
Right.
majority of it, and then
Right.
even then, you're not still the majority
Right.
of it because they have a lot more opportunities to apply somewhere else.
Yeah, but still though, my thing is, will that action, right, from Diamond be considered racist, right? Like, what you guys say on Diamond, if I told you guys, like, I didn't hang them up for
Maybe that was a racist act. You know what I mean? What you think, Z?
I would say it's racist. It's racist-ish.
That's crazy.
No, because for me personally, I'm having a hard time for this, bro. Like, sometimes I think I'm like, damn, another part of me would be like, damn, that's being racist, right? Because the only merit I'm making that decision is because he's white. And, so a part of me think I'm being racist, and a part of me, like, based on the definition, is like systematic, right? Like, all right, but at the end of the day, there are more white businesses than black businesses, so right. So overall, the system still is favoring him. So technically, even though my act, whatever I'm doing might be considered I'm being racist, but technically, from a systematic approach, I'm not being racist. So it's kind of like, it's technical for me because I'm still trying to like understand. Because part of me would be like, damn, you're being racist because the only reason why you didn't hire him because of his color.
Yeah.
So it's technically based on the definition. And then another part of me is like, they have power. They have more corporations that are owned by white people and black people. So technically, you are not being. So one of those things is like racist-ish.
Racist-ish, baby.
That's a new word though. It's like it's like borderline.
It's racist-ish for sure.
You're disgusting. Say you're discriminating, not racist. Excuse me. Damn.
Like,
Ah.
Yeah.
what do you think, Diamond? Do you think you'd be racist in that
I'll
instance?
say part of me will say yes because if that's my only marriage, I'm like, okay, I'm not hiring him. Then at the end of the day, yeah, it's like because I'm not hiring this person because he's white. You know, like I'm not going to that club because it's white owned, right? I don't like being around white people. Yeah, even though it's like I'm minority, but my action based on the definition of the race, I think to me that's some type of racism,
Hmm.
Ross, to a certain level.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, then another part of me is like, you're not. So it's like I'm conflicted, right? I'm not quite sure where exactly I am at, when it comes to my actions. So
Hmm.
it's a little hard, to be honest, for me. Yeah.
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 And then what? Okay, and then let's go even deeper, right? What if your business is like a black
Right.
business, like that was like, you know what I mean, like focused on like a black
Right.
initiative,
Hmm.
right? And then you say I'm not hiring because it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Then are you still racist? You know what I'm saying? It's just like I'm
Right.
definitely not, but
Right.
it's because my business does, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like my business is like a company that helps black businesses get funding or
Right.
something,
Right. I
right?
mean, with
And
that
I'm looking
scenario,
for
then
somebody.
no, I
You
agree.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, with that scenario, I don't think you would be right because that's not the reason why you didn't hire him because it's like we need somebody to like, a black person, right? Because we are trying to like talk to black kids, and I think a black man would be more relatable than a white person, So with that, I think more about the mindset, right? How you feel, right? If inside, what you're doing that, if you know the reason why you're not hiring that person is because of their color, is then for me it's like you are being racist. It's like someone's not hiring me, even though I'm qualified. But the only reason why a white person is not hiring Diamond because he's black. That's
Mhm.
it. So I don't know.
Man, hey, he said same reason niggas don't work at Panda. Come on, man. I didn't got some orange chicken from a couple niggas before, man. Come on, man. Come on,
Hey,
man.
can you throw a little more orange on the thing?
Go to
Like, come
Panda,
on,
go
man.
to Panda Express in Atlanta.
I
I'm
was
sure
gonna
they got it.
say the same thing. I was gonna say that. Yeah, I was gonna say that. But the casting point here in Denver, I haven't really seen any black person that works at Panda Express. I haven't seen one, but in ATL it's different. Like
Yeah,
everywhere you go, yeah,
they work everywhere, you know. They in the
yeah,
sushi spots, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying? All that.
yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm still trying to like wrap my head around, right? Because I just believe that once you're just making decisions solely based on someone color, ethnicity, to me you're being a little racist,
Hmm.
right? A little bit. Because when we moved to Ghana, at one point we went to the store and this kid, he's from Ghana. He told the lady like, "Why are you serving the Liberian kid before me?" And we were both black, dark skin. I felt some type of way. I was like, bitch. Like, yeah, because he felt like he was superior, right? Because he's from there. I'm a foreigner. I don't belong there. So he should get the first treatment. Then I should be second.
Hmm.
And I felt some type of way. I was like, bro, we're both black. Like, why are you
Yeah.
trying to feel like you're better because you're from here and I'm not? So
Yep.
it's just one of those things that it's kind of like hard to like conceptualize and like understand for me
Yeah.
personally. I don't know.
Yeah. And to Paul's point, there ain't a lot of black people in Denver, and that's very true. I, I came to learn that moving to Texas, but New York, Denver's not diverse at all.
Now, Denver's not diverse. You wouldn't know.
Um, so another question for y'all, like where do y'all see like race relations heading? Like, like whether that be in the immediate future and the distant future, like in our lifetime, like kind of thing. Like where do y'all see race relations going? Especially, I think things are like getting a lot more heightened now. Like like with people like Trump, like coming back around and with things like you know um, between I know this doesn't really like affect us too much, but the conflict between the Israeli and Palestinian
Right.
people, like stuff like that. You're just seeing a lot more like race relation things like being highlighted
Right.
and being brought to light. And where do you see those things headed?
Overall, man, I would say I'll see in a more positive manner because I think the worst is pretty much behind us, man. Like compared to like we talk about slavery and stuff, I don't think we're gonna get to that level again. I could be wrong, but I think just with social media and with people are like with technology, we're able to like travel and being able to like get along with other culture and people, trying to like understand them a little bit more. So for me overall, I think things in the long run, because it wasn't it like a study that showed like in 2015 in the United States, majority of the population would be like brown and stuff like that instead of like being white. So overall, I think things are getting better. People are learning to like adapt and get along with each other. Yes, sometimes the news might push all that narrative that people, race, we are against one another. But overall, just around you, I think I can see from my day-to-day experience that people are like getting together more than being apart. So I would say the future look promising when it comes to from a race standpoint, in my
And
opinion.
I'm gonna have to agree, bro. To that point that you said, like, just where we're coming from, right? Like my grandpa's life going at his age was different than mine was, and it can never be the same.
Right,
So if we look at it micro, it might, who knows how it's going to go, you know what I mean, the next election, the next 4 years. But I think that's like looking at a
right,
stock
right,
for like a little period of time. It could dip here, go up here. But if you look at it over a course of 20, 30 years, I think it's headed in a better direction.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's just because like what you said, it's just, it's a slow build. I think Caston's saying he disagrees. Um, but I think it's slowly, and I think a piece of that is with media too, right? Like
right,
you see different versions of every race now, right? Like
right,
it's not like you could just you could hear something, you could be told something, and then you know what I mean. You just don't know anything. Like anything that you want to look up right now, you can
right,
find. You know what I mean? You could be told propaganda, whatever, but like I think a lot of people know now that not any single race is all a single
right,
way. A lot of people know that,
right,
and there's still people that don't believe that, but you know what I mean. A lot of people know because you see it. You see different versions of everything.
right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
No,
Yeah.
I agree to that point, Ramon. That's true, man. Because sometimes we have this stereotype about, all white people are racist, all black people are ghetto. We just think it's false, right? Because within every group, there's always the good and bad, right? Within
Yeah,
every
yeah,
company, there'll be some company, if you invest in stocks, there's going to be a shitty company that you're going to buy the stocks, it's going to go down. There's going to be
Yep.
that company that's going to go up. Within every group, you always have the good and the bad. And like you said, with technology and social media nowadays, it makes that a lot more prevalent. If you want to find like good, respectable black people, you will find
Yeah.
that. If you want to find
yeah.
the ghetto, the ratchet, the twerkers, you will find that. The same thing goes with white. If you want to find like the ghetto, the crackhead, the triller board, you're gonna find that too. Just do your search. So I think nowadays social media makes it a lot easier for us to like find it, and familiarize ourselves and learn and understand other race and people and culture. And also like traveling, bro. Like when you travel around, you get to like experience like you guys been to Africa before. If you've never been to Africa, your perception about African might be a little different. But like being able to
Yeah.
like travel, like being black from America and being there, you kind of like understand. Now you know when someone's talking about, oh, Africans behave a certain way. You're like, I don't really think so because I was there.
Yeah.
Why not? They treated me a whole different way. Then if you
Yeah,
never have that great
you can't
example,
just tell me that, right? Like you
right?
can't
So I
just tell
think
me that I was there, bro. You know what I
right.
mean?
So I
So
Um,
think things look promising to me, but you never know.
so addressing a couple of things. So like to Paul's point, he mentioned until we all become one color, it's not going to go very far. I disagree with that. And I think we all kind of touched on this already thus far. I think it's important to recognize and acknowledge our differences. But just being in a space to where like we can respect each other's differences kind of thing. And I think that's the disconnect that we have, is the lack of respect,
Right,
kind of thing. I think it's almost instinctive for human beings to like differentiate ourselves from one another, right? Like your eyes are bigger than mine. Oh, your lips are bigger than mine.
right,
Like oh yeah, like we're there's always going to be something that we like differentiate one another from. So like the whole idea of us all being one color, like I don't agree with that. Like I think equality and like should absolutely, but as far as like just saying like, oh, like there's only like one color, like no, I think we should all be able to recognize the differences in our shades of skin, like in our cultures and whatnot. But like I said, just having that ultimate respect for one another and like not looking down on anybody else, because they may be a different color or they may practice a different belief,
right,
those. So I don't necessarily agree with that, but to Cash's point, you know, um, as far as like things potentially getting worse before they get better, I think that very much is a possibility. I don't know if I'm necessarily as optimistic as y'all, kind of thing. I think things are really interesting right now, and to Cass's point, with this upcoming election dictating a lot of like where race relations go, I do think that's very much a possibility, because to Cass's point, when there's certain laws that are being passed, like they're completely like getting certain texts and certain, like when we talk about like Black history and stuff like that, like they don't even want to teach those things in
Right.
classes anymore. So like this certain population of people who want to make America great again, the MAGA population, which is actually a big population of America, they want to take us back to the pre-civil rights era. Like whether we want to
Ain't
recognize
gonna
that or
happen.
not, it's tough, man, because honestly, the only way I see like
Right.
dramatic happening
Right.
is if a revolution happens, and I can tell you the American people are never going to they're never going to revolt.
Right.
Like it will never happen in America. It won't, because people are too a part of the system. They believe in the system too much. And I think there's been plenty of instances where revolution could have happened,
Right.
and it's not going to, and so I am very unsettled when it comes to like race relations, especially in like the near future, like within the like next decade. It is interesting because a lot of things are moving forward. A lot of things are pressing us forward, things like AI technology and all this stuff. But I think there's a lot of things that like, especially like the ignorance of a very large group of people that want to
Right.
keep us where we are and even take us back to where we've been. So, and those people control a lot.
Right.
Those control a lot. Like those are the moving pieces behind the scenes. And so, yeah, I think things are going to be really interesting in the next like decade or two. As far as what that looks like, I also think world relations is going to play a part in that too. Like with Russia and China allying, like I think that's going to play a huge role into like potential shifts of power, and stuff
Right.
like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see what that all looks like. But like, long story short, definitely not as optimistic.
So
I
my kind of argument now, don't you think by Russia and China becoming an ally, that would make our relationship here better than, because I think that we can, try to like deviate. We need to like be together then, right? Would it not make more sense now in America, especially black and whites, to like unite more, since they're now, because you notice that whenever there's a natural disaster or something crazy, people tend to like comes together, like 9/11, right? Your
Mhm,
neighbors, we all like come together like a culture, like a family, right?
mhm.
Because now like there is us against it's them against us. Don't you think that will play a pivotal role, that bringing people together now? Because now you look how Russia and China are joining forces to fight to come against us, right? So now we need to come together instead
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
I don't know. That's just my
I,
thoughts.
I I do think that's a good question. I do think when you have a common enemy, like that does unite people to a degree,
Right.
right? I do agree with that. However, I think also like a shift of power could also like cause even more disparity, like in the sense of people now want to differentiate themselves from like other groups, because it's just like, all right, now if we're no longer in power, like I would like to know that like we as a people, like I'm still not them though,
Right.
like kind of thing. Like, and when it comes to stuff like that, like let's say Russia and China ally, and all of a sudden there's a sudden shift in power, from a grant like from a worldview
Right.
kind of. I think Americans could potentially unite, but I think they also could potentially become even more divided, because it's just like now, like you have like Russian Americans and stuff like that, like we're like, nah, I'm not a feel like I'm Russian, kind of thing. So like, so I'm with the winners, baby, like, so like there's gonna be some kind of like, I'm white but I'm Russian, so like I run shit, kind of thing. So like
That's
there's
interesting.
opportunity for some division,
Right.
like I think when you talk about like race relations, especially like I think y'all are familiar with like the problems that have existed between Italians and Black people, right?
Right.
So
Look,
the reason why that is because Italians are viewed as the bottom
right.
of white.
Right.
kind of thing. So at the end of the day, they're like, yeah, we might not be like y'all, we may not be like the top of the totem pole, but I'm still not them. And when they say them, they're talking about us,
Right.
like kind of thing. So like there is opportunity for unity to happen, but I also think there also is an opportunity for even more division to happen, because it's like all of a sudden it's just like panic, and it's just like, nah,
Right.
well, like I'm still not them though.
Who you gonna join, Z? Who you gonna join?
You know, nah, it's funny. It's funny, but I was kind of thinking that he made a great point,
No,
because
shoot.
I'm still kind of more on the optimistic side.
Right.
But like, if we ever went to war with like Africa or something, Liberia, you know what side you
Yeah.
on?
Hmm.
Like,
True.
Exactly.
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, for real. So,
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
It's true.
interesting.
I mean, yeah, it's hard. One of those things, but it's hard, right? Because I was just talking about like just overall people overall. Because it's like for me now, I think in that scenario, for me, it's like us against them. So it's gonna be us against Russia and China. In that regards, then who's gonna be my allies here? White people, right? Hispanic, Asian people who are here. That's gonna be the people I can closely relate to because we speak the same language and all that. So that's how I'm thinking. But I could be wrong, but in that sense, because
I
I feel
heard
like
that.
that would help
I
us to
heard
like.
this one thing.
Go ahead, Ramon.
I'm my fault, bro. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Right. So I don't know. That's kind of like what I was thinking because I feel like I will be able to like closer relate to an American who happen to be white, Italian, whatever he is, than a Russian who don't speak my language, right? Because it's like they coming here because we have our family here, so now we have to like protect all our resource, our family, and So I think that's just gonna make us, to me, come together more. We're not gonna really look at, oh, he's African American, oh, he's black, it's us against them, it's Russia against America, right? So that's kind of like it's a little different now. You're gonna like try to like unify based on your nationality more than your color.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's how I look at it. But
Yep.
I heard the one thing that would really end racism is an alien abduction.
That's the only, that's the only thing.
I heard that's like the only way it could really be wiped out. Because then it's really like,
It's
yeah,
us them. It's
it's
us,
true.
all of us versus all of them.
But my thing
yeah.
is,
That
so what if the war is over? Then do we go back to our old ways, or do we like move forward? Right?
that's $1 million question,
Yeah.
bro. Who
What?
knows?
And I'm gonna
That's hopefully. I mean, that's saying we win,
yeah.
Right.
right?
If we win,
But
right? If we win, what do we do? Do we go back to being go back to
that's
our old
crazy.
ways? Because now it's like we
That
all
would be
different now,
insane.
right?
Yeah. So the thing is, like, there's always going to be some kind of hierarchy, right? So at some point, even if let's say we defeat the aliens, and now let's say there's like,
Who would defeat the aliens? We not.
let's say us human beings, we took out the aliens, and there's like 300 million of us left. They took a lot of us out. Like, let's say there's 8 billion people. All of a sudden, it's been depleted to 300 million people across the world.
Yeah.
They took a lot of us out, baby. Where are we going from here? There's always going to be some kind of hierarchy, and I think at some point there's always going to be someone who is greedy and wants certain power, and like is going to manipulate things to their liking. So I think there's always going to be some kind of rift in when it comes to like relations and stuff like that. And that's just my own personal
Right.
belief. I want to be optimistic, especially like with American or not Americans, with like human beings and stuff like that. But like human beings, we trash a lot of times. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
We
But
are.
we love to be in groups. Like, we
Right.
don't talk about it, but I
Right.
mean, like, the Chiefs fans versus the San Francisco 49ers, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think people naturally love to be in separate groups, and kind of like, even if it's not on, like, there's the big level that we're talking about, like actual like wars and stuff. But even on a small level, people love
Yep.
competition. People
Right.
love, you know what I mean, to go back and forth with the other side. People love the argument. You know what I mean? Like, so I think there definitely would be something there in that
Right.
case. It would be I'd be just interested in
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
knows, because like at that point there would be so much open space and to do different things. Do you just start different, like y'all own that, y'all own this, we own, you know what I mean, like we'd have to start a whole new system,
Right.
like what makes sense, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's we deep in there now. Who knows,
Yeah.
brother, you know what I'm saying?
And because everything I feel like just racism overall is just stupid to me. At the end of the day, right? Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we are all the same people, right? To just discriminate and hate on someone solely based on their color or
Yeah.
their nationality, it's kind of absurd if you think about it,
Yeah.
right? Like, why? Oh, I just
Yeah.
don't like him because he's black. Why? Oh, I don't like him because he's white. I don't know, man. It's
Yeah.
bad. Because if you look at history, right, isn't like this, oh, the first human was discovered in Africa. So technically, we are all from Africa, right? We are from Africa, technically. So, and then we are like the human race, but it's so crazy. Like color and phenotype, all those things make us like, oh, we are different. It's like I think we have a lot more in common than we are different. I just believe
I,
we're all human
I,
beings.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's tough, man. It really is. Because to Peace Point, yeah, I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say. It's tough, man.
All right. So
It,
last question before we conclude, though. So what can we do as a group, right? Like as Black people, is like elevate ourselves and become better overall. Like, what are some things that we can improve and things that we can do, to just become better just here in the States?
mm-hmm.
Before we wrap up this live, it's just what are some
Yeah.
things that
I, I think it's a lot of the things that I feel like we're already doing, and that's hats off to you brothers, man, and you know what I mean, and just like certain things that we're working on in ourselves. I think partially is like when you work on yourself in so many different ways, you naturally elevate the level of the black culture, right? Because a lot of people around you is gonna be black, right? You're gonna be teaching them things that you're gonna be, you know what I mean, like trading things with them. You're gonna be, you know what I mean, doing that. But even moving into like different levels financially, you're gonna be able to help different people differently. Like, you know what I mean? So I think the first thing we can do is just work on bettering
right,
ourselves, bettering our mindsets, maybe, educating ourselves and really just growing. And then once you do that, like we can't be the ones that like turn the blind cheek after we get over a
right,
hump and be like, well, shit, I made it out. You know what I'm saying? Like what's the Jay-Z line? I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay, you know what I'm
Oh,
saying? But we can't get over the hump and then like turn a blind eye and just like point the finger like y'all should be doing this. Nah, I can't do that, and y'all I'm not fucking with y'all. I think we gotta elevate as a collective.
right,
You
mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And I think even if we can't, a lot of people think they can't change the world, but, and then they won't. You know what I mean? But just think that you can, maybe change your community. That changes the world. You know what I mean? So I think setting up systems. That's been my word this year.
right,
Period. But setting up systems that other people, black people in general, can benefit from is a start, man. So better yourself,
right.
educate the people around you when you do that, and then just try to elevate and set up systems for the people around you, bro. That's my
I
answer to that.
agree.
Agreed. Like I think just the continuing the evolution in oneself and just wanting to elevate and not being cynical, because at the end of the day, like for instance, like from this conversation, I may not be as optimistic about like y'all about certain race relations, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not going to be optimistic in my own life and still
Right,
continue like figure out how to progress and how to elevate not just myself but the people around me, at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, I can't control everybody else. I can't want everybody to want the same things that I want. I know at the end of the day, like a lot of the people in our network have the purest intentions and we want the best for everybody,
right,
kind of thing, our people, So I think continuing to push that envelope and wanting more, and not letting what goes on in the grander scheme of things like necessarily impact your life to a degree. It's always going to, right? But I think continuing not to be a cynic and just being like, oh, all people are trash,
right,
kind of thing. So like, why should I be here? Why should I be trying to do this and improve people? Because I think that's a mindset that a lot of, especially in the black culture, I think that's a concept that a lot of people end up embracing. I think of people like Nipsey. Like Nipsey was a martyr for no reason, like and he kind of even pushed that, like this is exactly why people like black people when they get out the hood, they stay out the hood, right? Because it's just
right,
like look at what happened to Nipsey. And it's just like that cynical mindset of just like always just like, nah, it's just always gonna be bad. There's always gonna be negativity. You gotta overcome that and you gotta like just continue to like, regardless of what happens, good or bad, I'm gonna just continue doing me
right,
and wanting the best for myself and not just myself, but the people around me. And I think those are the things that we're doing. We're having these conversations. We're doing these things. And so I think honestly, just like continuing on our trajectory of what we're doing right now is
right,
what we need to continue to do. Shout out. If you don't take that hat off, man, I knew he'd come over here. I
With the
knew
slow nod too. Come on, he was like, yeah, y'all
I didn't even
see
mean it like
it.
that, man. I'm headed out. I know, but I just wanted to hop on here, man, and say y'all preaching right now. Like, y'all hitting for real. Like, just even bringing up some of these subjects, a lot of people wouldn't even want to have that conversation. I think is very important, and I touched on it, but Z wrote back to it in the comment. But it's nice to be around people who don't have those prejudices, right? Like, we've
Thanks.
all experienced people of other races and different cultures that have had large impacts on our lives and what we've done and what we've been able to achieve and accomplish. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's kind of what y'all said, like living by example and really being in a position where you're showing it, not just telling it, right? I think that's huge, right? Because there's people who, like, I remember when I went to see it. Do y'all remember how y'all felt when you went to
Come on,
CSU for the
man.
first time?
Yeah.
Of course.
Bruh,
Of
I
course.
couldn't believe it, right? There was like 3 white people in my high school. It was all black people and, some Mexicans, right? So when I went to CSU, I was like, bruh, this is insane, right? But I met the white half of my family when I turned 16. So I had a little bit of exposure before I went to CSU. And I feel like that really helped me have different conversations than I would have had I not had that exposure beforehand. But we have people, in inner city communities who have no exposure to white people, right? They
Right.
only see what they see on the news, and not just white people, but multiple races.
Right.
Yeah.
So for them, that prejudice, becomes just how the same way with white people when they grow up in the suburbs and they're not around any black people, right? Like,
Yeah, right.
start to believe something that you haven't seen for yourself. So
Right.
it's really nice to be in a position where you have people around you and you've had those experiences. And all 3 of y'all are very well traveled. You've been all around the world, right? I haven't been, I've been all over the United States, but I haven't been out of the country yet, right? Hopefully next year we make that happen. But it's just nice to be able to disregard those thoughts and be able to have a conversation with people in front of you and see what they give you and not judge it off of whatever you think you're supposed to be thinking because this is what somebody told you the way that you're supposed to feel about somebody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact. Character, man.
For sure.
Character. That's and I'm sure it's funny, like on the other side of that, like when you were saying, we probably all might have been the first black person that some of the white people that went to CSU ever seen or talked to. You know what I mean? Like we might have been that first thing for them too, like, out of their neighborhood. So yeah, bro. But it is dope being in a circle. Like I've never. Of course, sometimes I go into places and maybe have prejudice on just like if it looks and feels a certain way, or somebody kind of putting their shoulder towards me. But I've never been like, I just don't like this person because they're whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm out the gate. I've never, thought like that. So it's dope being around a circle that moves the same way. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
Yep. And that's why I think it's people like us who are truly going to change the world. And I genuinely believe that.
Right. That's true.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Right? Like, what do you say? I think it was DG or PC. Y'all mentioned that if you don't believe that you can change the world, you can't.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Thanks.
if you don't wake up in the morning and think you could take a shower, you're probably not going to take a fucking shower. Right? Like, it's simple shit.
You're not even
right?
going to try.
Yeah. And some tasks
You're not even going to try.
take more time. Some tasks takes more effort than other tasks.
Right.
Right? Making breakfast, taking your clothes to get dry, like whatever the case may be. But changing the world, that's a large ask. Right? What steps are you putting in place to move it in that direction? And I don't think you can change the world in a generation.
Right.
But I think over time, you can teach the next generation to carry on those same philosophies that you've worked for. And I think that's kind of where, Z touched on it a little earlier. I think that's where we're not correlating with the people that came before us. We're not carrying that forward right now, right? Like, it's like all this work that they did, and I feel like we're at a point where they've done a good job of erasing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And putting us back in a position where it's like, y'all gonna do it again? Because if you do it again, it'll work. But if you leave it where it is right now, we're gonna get what we're looking for out of this, right? We're going to get the outcome that we're searching for because we don't believe that y'all really about it like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's my fear,
That's
right? Was Z was
what you mean.
touching on, right? That's my worry is like they've done such a good job of conditioning us to only care about what we have because we don't got much anymore.
Right.
It's hard for you to stick your neck out and go out on the line when you know you're not gonna have a job tomorrow, and it might not work anyway.
Right.
But now it didn't work, and now you don't have a job, right? So when I see people marching, man, I have nothing but love and appreciation for that and respect. But I think it's more than that; it's beyond that, and being able to carry that through to the next generation,
Right.
so that work isn't lost.
Right.
Right. And I think that's how we change the world, right? Is keeping those stories consistent, having those conversations, and right, talking with our grandparents, right, with our parents and the struggles and the issues that they've had to go through, and making sure to be able to teach that to our children, but not in a way to create prejudice, but in a way to create unity.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
That's why.
No, I agree. I think
Yeah,
that's like you mentioned a good point, Cass. Like, you know, changing the world. I think we can change the world just by changing ourselves, right? Like
Yeah.
how we treat other people. Because at the end of the day, let's say if I met a white person, if I treat him different, he's like, oh man, I met this black guy. He treated me really nice, kind. So now he's gonna tell that story to his friends, and you know, from there, that story can spread. And it's kind of like the same thing. The way we treat one another, the way we do things, the way we act, like our reputations and our behavior, those things to me, that's changing the world. They can show that people around you in your inner circle are being better. Your friends, like us right here, who inspire one another to become better. To me, that's like changing the world. Even though it might not be on the greater magnitude yet, but over time, you're gonna have that ripple effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keyword is yet. The keyword is yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you were a piece of the change, then you did change the world. That's the biggest thing. If you were one of the ripple in that drop, then you did. You know what I mean? You did your part. You know what I mean? And that's all we could do is our part. You feel me?
Yeah.
Dude, man.
It's true. I used to be afraid of not leaving like a legacy, right? That would be a fear of mine. Like but you think about it, man, in 1,000 years, how many people are gonna remember what you did?
Right.
Right? Like I think it only goes for a certain like obviously some people may disagree, but I think all right, let's just use Michael Jackson, right? Michael Jackson, most people will commonly refer to him as one of the greatest performers, if not the greatest performer of all time, right? But in 1,000 years, niggas not gonna know who Michael Jackson is. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like it's just gonna disappear, right? So I just think my focus changed from trying to leave something that lasts forever to something that lasts beyond me, right? Something that's still here when I'm gone that can then be used to then influence the next generation, right? So that's kind of the way that I look at it now. But that was heavy on my mind for a while. Like, damn, what am I gonna do that leaves an imprint that everyone can benefit from going forward? Right? And that's a tall task. That's a tall ask.
Yeah. To your point, Cass, like I think you hit the nail on the head because for two reasons, just like we talked about, change starts within yourself. But second, change starts with the youth because they are our future. You know, so I think it's hugely impactful to pass along those ideologies and the same courage that we have with wanting to like learn and grow and better and whatnot, and passing that on to like the future generation is necessary because future, you know, like change starts with them, you know, obviously it starts within ourselves, but then it starts with the youth because like they are going to be the ones who step into those roles after us, you know, and it's important to influence the way.
Cut out.
What is that?
I don't know. Somebody skateboarding.
I guarantee that.
Yeah, that's
What is that? What is it?
It's like an Air Force base near me, bro. That should be getting nuts.
Okay.
Yeah.
The plane,
it sounded like Lupe Fiasco was outside.
Going crazy.
For real. For real.
gotta envelope like I think courage is something we all have in abundance. And I think willing to put ourselves out there, the willingness to continue to connect with people, to continue to learn about ourselves, learn about the world, you know, like get out there. Speaking of which, get your passport. You know who I'm talking
I'm already signing up. Yeah, I'm already on it right
this
now.
is week. I don't know how you don't have a passport yet.
Yeah.
And for that record, we're not passport bros, but get your passport.
Thanks.
I've already been inquiring.
We bros with passports though. Like, you
Right,
know
there's a difference. We're not passport bro. We bros with passports.
You feel me?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get it. I'll probably have it ordered within the next month, probably.
Sure.
I'm gonna
Any
hit
closing
you in
remarks?
April. I'm gonna hit you in April with the follow up, brother.
I feel it. That's like accountability.
Accountability, man.
I'm about to get off this phone right now. How the fuck you get up?
Yeah.
Thanks for joining, Cass. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate y'all. I mean, I just wanted to tap in and just show y'all some love.
I
Of course.
appreciate you, bro. Always, man. This was a dope episode.
And shout out to everyone that tapped in. It's always a pleasure hopping on with everybody, and even if you're joining for 5 minutes, you know, for the entire thing, or you know, whatever the case may be, it's always a pleasure to have these conversations and continue to push that envelope. And I appreciate each and every one of y'all. And I appreciate y'all, fellas, man. Like I said, we gotta have that courage, man, and continue to push those boundaries because it's leading us in the right direction.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Man. It was a good conversation. I love it. You know,
For
talking
sure,
about some
always.
things I actually felt uncomfortable talking about.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. There were some points where I was like, you know what I mean? This gonna be a good one, man. And it's I mean, it's gonna be on YouTube too, man. So you know, it'll be there. It'll be there forever. You feel me? I said what I meant though. I said what I meant. I meant everything I said. You know what I'm saying? So
same here. Stand by.
Bro, black, baby, let's go.
we standing on business.
On business.
All right, fellas.
All right,
my guys.
Y'all be safe.
Gotta be easy, man.